I really believe that everybody has a choice on how they look at the world. So when you choose to look at the world that is less than, then you attract more of that and you kind of spiral down to that. So this is why it is so important to understand how beautiful it is that you're here and that you have an opportunity and a gift by being here to find out why are you here. Because when you know why are you here and you really put all the efforts into that purpose and why, then really the how always finds a way. It always finds a way.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Keynote Curators Podcast. I'm Seth Deckman, your Keynote Curator. And I want to talk to our audience today about wonderment and adversity and how those two things connect. And do they break us or do they make us? And if you have any interest in those kind of conversations, our guest today is for you, because this episode is really going to uncover how what might seem like something that breaks us apart is actually something that makes us who we are. Today, I'm sitting down with Dr. Magie Cook. Maggie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a real pleasure. You know, our audience may not know a lot about you, but they sure are by the end of this episode. Entrepreneur, philanthropist, and powerhouse storyteller, businesswoman, and so much more. I just want to address our audience, Maggie, many of whom are small business owners like yourself, event professionals, event marketers, event producers, and anybody who's been dialing in. Just thank you so much for viewing and subscribing. Maggie is the kind of guest I know you wait for. So if you have any questions or comments, please put it into the notes and let's get this thing started. We're going to learn a lot about you along the way, Maggie, but you know, you talk about adversity and how it doesn't diminish us. Mm-hmm. And we hear a lot about adversity, especially with social media, especially with the internet, and everybody's overconnected and has something to say about grit and resilience and adversity. You have a particular angle on it from your personal story. So if you could share a little bit about how you connect adversity and then how it refines us. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't diminish us. It doesn't make us smaller. It refines us. You know, you were an orphan, you were homeless, you lived in a forest, you used to, forage and hunt for your food with your bare hands. So take us back to that moment where that struggle wasn't just an obstacle, but it was the raw material that's created the future that you've lived into.
Yes, I think that, when we live in the world of constant adversity, we will never get rid of it. And ever since I can remember, I saw a lot of suffering and a lot of things that happened to me and other kids that I grew up with in this orphanage. But I really believe that everybody has a choice on how they look at the world. So when you choose to look at the world that is less than, then you attract more of that and you kind of spiral down to that. Or if you look at it as a possibility, even though you are in dire circumstances, things begin to change for you. You know, one of the really amazing things that I've come across recently is that science says that fear and joy cannot coexist at the same time in the body because they occupy different parts of the brain. So
they cannot exist.
They cannot exist at the same time in the body. They occupy different parts of the brain. So the question is, which wolf are you going to feed, the good or the bad? And that's what you get more of. And my experience has been that of adversity and at the deepest levels. You know, I grew up in this cave that I dug and I would future cast myself into success. I would imagine that I was a super successful woman with long hair, even though I have short hair, behind a mahogany desk with a dress with heels. Even though I hadn't lived outside the barbed wire fence, we would go up to 2 weeks without food. I had to become a hunter. And so I always looked at the world of possibility as in a way of like hoping for something better and just held that in mind, even if it was 18 long years. And I believe that when you do that, the opportunities, the possibilities, the creative way of that the mind sees things begins to open. And this
Mm,
is when opportunities show up, that's when you take action. But if
yeah.
you're focused on the pessimism side of life, you'll never even prime your mind to be open to such possibilities to happen for you, to take action, and that becomes our growth. But it's really, really interesting because if you live a life of being mindful and having this mindset of looking at the struggles as, what the opposite of that is, what is the advantage, then for me it's been like a full circle moment, because I went through this life coming to America, being homeless, starting a fresh salsa company with $800, and then having a massive sell, and then realizing that my salsa business was just a stepping stone to something bigger, which is what I do right now. When I talk about full circle moments, when I was future casting myself, I was also going into poetry, into speaking a little dirt stages. And I want to share a photo. I actually printed this for you. This is me speaking in little dirt stages in Mexico. Look what I'm doing today. I'm speaking, right? I'm
Wow,
sharing a
that you
message of
well, I just
inspiration.
got goosebumps. Oh my gosh.
Yes. So it's all about, there's always the other side. There's always an advantage to that adversity. The problem is that we don't remember, or we don't even know to use that reframe of mind. And it's a muscle that you have to train if you don't know how to use it. But for me, it just came naturally because I wanted to look for something better. I had the hope for something better because there was so much suffering.
You strike me as being so hyper aware and so hyper extremely in touch with your journey. And
Yes.
for our listeners, and I'm not speaking for them, I'm just imagining, and I can speak for myself.
Hmm.
This journey is beyond heroic. It's beyond like a Greek myth. And I imagine, I don't want to put words in your mouth, sometimes you must pinch yourself. It There are those, myself included, who had trauma, suffered, had dark times. And in those moments, it's not like, well, I know I'm suffering or there's trauma, but in the end, I'm really going to harvest something like really possible out of this. Sometimes it it is so overbearing and so
Hmm.
heavy,
Hmm.
um, that even though the concept of a possibility is there, it's hard to touch and it's hard to lean into. So the question is, what do you say to those that hear your story from
Yes.
orphan, homeless, foraging to selling for like an ungodly amount of money, your salsa company? We're going to talk about your
Mhm.
business in a little bit. What do you say to them?
No matter where you are, there's a reason why you are living and existing. I just want to say that the tougher the journey is for you, the greater the story on the other end.
Mm,
Because I will tell you, and I'm getting chills just thinking about it,
mm,
when I started calling supermarkets to sell my fresh salsa, I did not sell fresh salsa first. I sold my story. And that's what they bought into before they bought into the products. And I would never change anything from my past. I embrace my past. You should do too. And the
yeah,
harder it is, the better, because the stronger you come on the other end, if you see it that way, of course, right? But it's what makes you. It's what defines you. It's the person that you become. You become the person through adversity with a new purpose, with a new discovery, rediscovery, because I really have a profound understanding that purpose isn't something that you pull out of the thin air.
yeah,
It's more of something that you pull out of the mud. And through adversity, you can rediscover and discover the person that you become. And this person, you can shape it to be whatever you want it to be. For me, is impact and creating impact and helping people. What is it for you?
yeah. Well, for our listeners, there's the poetry right there. There's the poet showing up, the mud and the shaping and sculpting. That's beautifully said. I love the concept that you shared with us about joy and fear.
Yes.
If you're in the mud,
Mhm.
metaphorically, if you're in an orphanage, if you're foraging in the woods, you're homeless,
Mhm.
um, you're in an everything to gain, nothing to lose type of mentality. But it doesn't mean that everybody's in that situation has gone on and had the same journey and the same life of possibility.
Mhm.
Um, it does take an effort, it takes fortitude. And I want to just share with our viewers, our subscribers, and our listeners who we just so appreciate being with us. And I know they're here for these kind of stories and this narrative. Share with them your relationship with the undying belief in the possibility and patience.
Yes. Yes. The undying belief on the possibility. The first step, because if you know what you want, there's nothing that can hold you back. The possibility is firm, and everything begins to open for you, through you, and for you. When you are not walking on purpose, why would you be resilient? Why would you be resourceful and relentless about what you want to do and achieve and be and become? Because I really believe it's truly about becoming something bigger than yourself. And we are in this time and space. Scientists have done a lot of numbers. They've done the research and they calculated the chances of you being born. And what they did is they took into account your own personal DNA makeup. They took into account the chances of your parents, grandparents, and ancestors meeting. They even took into account world wars and natural disasters. And what they said is that your chances of being born are 1 in 400 trillion. What does that mean? That means that you'll never exist again. You never existed before. You will never exist again in this form. So, this is why it is so important to understand how beautiful it is that you're here and that you have an opportunity and a gift by being here to find out why are you here. Because when you know why are you here and you really put all the efforts into that purpose and why, then really the how always finds a way. It always finds a way.
The devil's advocate or the person that can't yet see the possibility, they're like,
Yes.
okay, sure, as a concept, as an intellectual academic exercise, Maggie, bien, I'm going to go ahead and create a purpose.
Mhm.
But there are those, I would imagine, who are like, yeah, but I want to make sure it's right. I want to pick the right one. I don't know. I'm not sure about this or that.
Mhm.
What do you say to that?
I would say what makes you come alive.
Hmm.
That which makes you come alive, go do it, because that is the thing. That is it, the thing, you know?
Yeah.
Um, because one of the things that you can get very obscure about is you have all these things in front of you and you're like, "I wanna do everything for everybody," or, "I wanna do everything that I see in front of me because I have this talent, that talent." What makes you come alive? What is the one thing that if you could just do it and focus on that, could change everything for you? When you recognize, is there passion? Does it give you does it make you wake up at 4 AM with, like, eyes like this and, "Let's go do it." Do it. That's what you have to do. And for those who don't have that and can't figure out what that is, one of the ways that I've found through my personal experience to do this is if you eat clean for 30 days. Get a nutritionist. Eat according to your blood type or blood work. Do mindset meditation. You can do prayer. You can do some of these things. Have a morning routine. Go out, get movement in 30 days. What happens in 30 days is that your mind, your brain begins to clear and things begin to show up for you.
Yeah. That's great.
When you are clean, things begin to show up for you.
We've had other guests who have alluded to that. And, my synthesis of it is if you create those habits, 7 days, 30 days, keep it simple.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
swirl and the noise and the rollo that's there
Yes.
diminishes, could even disappear. And then what's
Yes.
left is what's important, what lights you up, what really turns you on.
Mhm.
And then I'm just going to take the cynic and the devil's advocate even further. And I'm going to speak to them and just say, and even then, when you get in touch with that, it might not be the 2 steps ahead, but it's the one that's gonna get you to the next one, which is
Yes.
then gonna get you to the next one. And, you know, when you speak, I've seen this happen, and I'm not surprised, but it just moves and touches me every time. People come up to you and they thank you, and they're so moved, and they're moved to tears, and they relate their own story. Maybe they're on a journey for business, or maybe they were an orphan or homeless like you were. And there is a certain sense of your connection to it's going to take time,
Mhm.
and there's a messy middle.
Mhm.
And, if you can draw a through line from where you started to where you are now, it certainly isn't a straight line. It's all over the
Yeah.
place. Yeah. Ins and outs, and it's on the
Yes.
X and the Y and the Z axis, and maybe some others we don't even know exist.
Mhm.
So, you know, when you've hit that milestone, talk about the moment where it's now what? Bring our audience into the salsa, the Walmart, the story, the selling to the big brand, and then the reinvention, because I just think it's so beautiful. You
Mhm.
almost blew it up and just started over from zero with a new purpose.
Yes. Yes. It was such a tremendous journey for me because when I won that salsa contest for the state of West Virginia unanimously, and that was my aha moment, I was the only fresh salsa, uh, product there, and it was hard. Nobody would help me. Google was my main research source, and I just really started making it by the gallon and selling it by the pint to friends for $5. Remember making a long list of stores to call from the smallest to the largest. I got 90 rejections one day, and it hurt. I've never picked up the phone and made so many calls. And my friends were telling me, "What are you doing? You should quit. You're not making any money. Get a job." Other people would tell me, supermarkets, people that made products for supermarkets, ready to eat products, they said they're never going to listen to you. It took us 6 years to get our products in. So sometimes you have to figure out a way through, even if it's so scary. For me, was taking that list and turning it upside down. And now the largest organic retailer in the United States was at the top. So I called, I picked up the phone and I said, "I hope they don't answer. I hope they don't answer." And I said, "Hey, my name is Maria Magdalena Cruz Cook Garcia. I have an awesome pico de gallo de salsa. I think you guys would love it." And I hang up. Well, it was Whole Foods. They called me the next day and they said, "We heard of you. When can you come?" They met 9 a.m. the next day in Mid Atlantic in Maryland. And I was in West Virginia. So I said, "I'll be there." Went to the kitchen, made salsa, drove with my beater car. It took me like 8 hours to get there. Barely made it at 9 a.m. I remember distribution center was huge, and I was like, "What am I get myself into?" I remember going into their offices. They opened the doors. I had my heels, my salsa boxes in my hand, and my chips on top, and I laid them on the table. They started to eat them, and at one point, Eric, which was the buyer, gets up and he says, "Oh my gosh, we want your products. When can we have them?" And and I said, "Well, how much do you need?" And he said, "Well, your first order is gonna be 10,000 pounds of salsa." And I about went in my pants, I'm telling you. And, long story short, that year we went from making $12,000 to $1.9 million. And what happened, all the people that had said no started to call because now we were in Whole Foods. And that was really the defining moment. Then, we became distributors in over 38 states across the United States. We grew our facilities to huge, place. And then we had the sale with Garden Fresh to Campbell's for 231 million. That in itself was such an amazing journey. But the reason why I did what I did is because my father once told me that I would never amount to anything, that I would die in prison and with AIDS. Those were
Mm,
exactly his words.
mm,
So I told myself that I would do anything to prove him wrong, like anything that came up first. And this is what I did. But the
yeah.
the thing that I realized is that you should never be on purpose based on fear because you'll always hit a plateau. That's when I realized that actually my father, he never recognized my success until a week before he died. He wrote me a letter, and it's really, really powerful.
Wow. That must have been a full circle moment for you, huh?
Yes, and that was the realization of, this has been a stepping stone to something bigger.
Yeah.
And that's when I, redid my name and, you
Yeah.
know, started the
I
speaking.
I just want to underscore that because here you have somebody in your life, your father,
Oh gosh, yes.
who was a no possibility, a negative. I call it putting a lid on what
Yes.
you could achieve.
Mhm.
Hard, galvanized, soldered in, iron dome, if you will, like on top of whatever you wanted to achieve.
Yes.
And little by little, patience,
Yes.
slow burn, commitment,
Mhm.
even that
Mhm.
came undone in the form of a letter a week
Yes.
before he died. And it
Yes.
was a completion for him and for you, which released into could be the next step. I want to
Mhm.
go back before we go into the next step because we've talked about this on the podcast with other guests, but I have this notion where greatness really, Maggie, is in the agency of others. And there are those entrepreneurs and heroes and rags to rich stories,
Mhm.
which I'm even saying in a way, I'm not belittling it. I'm just saying I did it on my own. Nobody helped me. I pulled myself up from my bootstraps. But if you really get underneath it, there's always some person or people or a group of people or a key moments along the way. The obvious one for you is somebody gifted you $800
Mhm.
to kind of be the impulse, but there
Mhm.
were many others along the way.
Mhm.
I call them the invisible hands.
Mhm. Yes.
Um, Share with us one of those that you haven't even thought about or that you want to give gratitude to that was looking back kept you on track or pushed you off track to get on a different track?
Oh, that's a really good question. If you're asking for something that I haven't talked about before,
Not it
um,
doesn't even have to be that you haven't
uh-huh,
thought about in a long time. I mean, we all
uh-huh,
know the $800, not we all
uh-huh,
know, the $800 story is prominent
uh-huh,
in your
mhm,
narrative, and it's
mhm,
important,
mhm.
and there were so many others.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'd like to say that there is so much possibility. We are so much more powerful than we think and so much more powerful than we know. And what I'd like to say is that I remember people always asking me, "Hey, can I have your secret salsa recipe?" And I would say, "Well, I have to kill you first, right?" But what kept me on track was thinking the secret recipe of the secret recipe is you, is me.
Yeah.
Because anybody can make salsa. So thinking about that and being able to use what's available to you, because I didn't have money, the resources that we have inside, the creativity, the passion, that want to stick to whatever it is that we need to achieve. If you think about those things and begin to open your mind, you are the secret recipe. You are the one that creates everything that inspires even more creation and more possibility.
And you know what is a common theme, not just on this podcast and not just with keynote speakers, is some of the things that are either most shaming, most embarrassing, uh, most belittling, most humiliating end up being
Uh-huh.
the fuel, right?
Yes.
Whether it's a handicap somebody's born with, or a terrible accident where they lost limbs or
Mhm.
something like that, or
Mhm.
I don't know, somebody created a terrible, a theft or something and came clean or whatever. And
Mhm.
those are, as you talk, that's the mud
Mhm.
from which we get formed. So
Mhm.
walk us through then that post sale. And for our subscribers and our listeners, couple things. That was correct. You did hear 231 million. That's with an M, and that's
Yes.
dollars. That's
Mhm.
it's a
Mhm.
big
That's
number
always.
that you then created a new journey. Share
Yes.
that with us.
Yes, so I remember that when we sold the company, the first thing that happened, like, almost immediately, was that the orphanage that I was born into in Mexico, that it was gonna be taken, over by cartel, and the
And
kids
how
were going
did
to
you
be.
hear about that? Because at this point you were living in the States and you were,
Yes.
I
Mhm.
mean, you just got bought out by Campbell's. I mean, so
Yes.
you stayed connected and you had heard
Yes.
about it immediately.
Yes. This is my brother who's actually taking care of the orphanage, and my younger brother. And he said 50 people are coming. He immediately called me. And we need you here. And I swear it was the fastest flight from Michigan to Mexico. It was like 5 hours, unheard of. I got there and we were able to involve the federales, the military. They came in their choppers, and it took us a long time to convince them to come because they were also fighting cartels around us. So, but that was a defining moment. And then that led to the creation of my foundation in Mexico. And also, we watched those kids. I have a 38 special gun, handgun, and my brother had a Chisa, like a handmade shotgun. We watched these kids for 30 days before the federales and the military came. And we kept them in a room, and it was just such a crazy story. But because of that, I started my foundation. We have 5 orphanages in Querétaro and one in Michoacán,
In
where I was born.
Querétaro.
In Querétaro, yes.
Querétaro, perdón.
Yes, yes, yes. And, but at the same time, I had discovered, because I had been speaking for many years, because of the success of my company, people would ask me to come and speak at their events. But in 2015, I found out that it's a business and I could turn it into a business. So as a rediscovery, I changed my name from Maggie to 2 G's to Maggie with 1 G. And I just began learning more about how to become a better speaker to to make an impact through inspiration. And that's really when that journey started to take off. And now I've been speaking all over the world, and a lot here in the United States, and just continuing to support the efforts in Mexico as well.
That's really, really cool. And then that resulted in rescuing those 31 children.
Yes,
And, it's just, you know, it's a story that the script is written for Hollywood, and
yes,
and what I'm certain about, Maggie, is that you're so grounded in possibility that there's so much more and the adventure will
yes.
continue. One of the things I say to my children every single morning is, I love you. Good morning. I love you. Today's going to be a great day no matter what. And life is an adventure. And I'm not talking about an adventure like a water slide. Oh, it's such an adventure.
Yeah.
No, you might fall off your bike on the way to school. You might have studied really well and not gotten that great test, or somebody in your class might have said something unkind to you. It's
Hmm.
all an adventure, right?
Yes.
Not just the fun and the butterflies and unicorns and rainbows. I want to share with our audience that we're going to take a little bit of a turn here, and we're going to do a portion of this episode in Spanish. It will be fully translated, transcribed in English. So just hang with us here. Magdalena, Maggie, cambiaste tu nombre. Maggie,
Uh-huh.
me gustaría practicar, como dicen en México, dialogar, conversar un poco en el sentido de liderazgo
Sí.
en el mundo de negocios.
Ujú.
Sos una mujer. ¿Cómo ves una manera de navegar ese mundo que está dominado, o la mayoría son los ejecutivos son hombres?
Ujú.
¿Qué diría específicamente a las mujeres que
Ujú.
están como intentando a romper ese cielo de vidrio, digamos?
Ujú.
¿Y qué dirías vos?
Primeramente, la cuestión es que nosotros como mujeres empezamos a decir o a reconocer de que hay ciertos límites, que somos vistas como menos, ¿no?
Ujú.
Pero la realidad es que en mi mentalidad, en mi persona, yo nunca me he visto menos que nadie más, ni me ha cruzado la mente. Si yo me veo menos de alguien más, es una energía que yo voy a atraer,
Sí, sí.
pero nunca me he visto menos que nadie más y nunca me ha afectado de esa manera. ¿Me doy a entender?
Sí, totalmente. Y lo voy a conectar unas ideas que hemos hablado en
Claro,
inglés. Los 90 nos que
sí,
recibiste en esas llamadas.
sí,
También metafóricamente esos nos, también como mujer en un mundo de hombres masculino dominado por varones. ah, Hay muchos nos metafóricamente, pero el único no me parece, no quiero poner palabras en tu boca,
ajá,
el único no que no te permitís es un no a ti mismo de vos mismo,
sí,
¿no?
sí,
Y el mundo exterior va a comunicar y va a señalar nos todo el tiempo. Entonces, requiere una fuerza mental, una fuerza como este tipo de mindset que vos hablás.
sí,
¿Tenés unos tips, unos, no digo trucos, no me gusta la palabra, pero una manera de enfrentar o una guía, unas barrandas, no sé, una estructura para guiarte vos mismo en ese
sí.
mundo?
Tengo una mantra que me encanta, que va así: si esto no, entonces algo mejor. Si esto no, entonces algo mejor. Porque a veces las cosas pasan de cierta manera para enseñarnos algo. A veces, a lo mejor, no estamos listos y preparados para lo que viene. Entonces, cuando tú te abres a la tengo escalofríos, cuando te abres a la posibilidad de si esto no, entonces algo mejor, tú empiezas a abrir la mente y la energía y la posibilidad de que algo mejor venga hacia ti.
No, eso es muy bonito porque contextualizaste en una forma muy sencilla, pero no es
Sí,
sencilla, es complejo.
sa
Y yo pienso mucho egoístamente en mis hijas,
sí,
porque uno puede argumentar o decir un tesis que no, hay mucho progreso, mucho avance, ha transformado la situación con mujeres en el mundo de negocio o en el mundo en general. Sí, pero hay mucho más pista para andar,
ujú,
mucho más camino para caminar, ¿no?
ujú, sí,
Y cuando yo escucho tu historia, tu narrativa de 90 nos, como un ejemplo, un síntesis de todo, el último no es el último no. ¿Y qué viene después del último no?
ujú, el sí,
El sí. Y
ujú,
eso es tu mantra, ¿no?
sí, ajá. Every no is closer to that one yes.
Sí, es increíble, es increíble. Y específicamente para, y no tiene que ser Norteamérica, para mujeres que son latinas,
Ujú,
¿no? Ellas enfrentan otros obstáculos o otros desafíos, ¿no?
ujú.
¿Qué dirían ellas?
Primeramente, te voy a decir algo que no hablo mucho de esto,
Mm,
pero yo soy una de las personas que tiene una de las mayores adversidades de vida, porque no solamente soy latina, soy mujer, pero también soy miembro de LGBTQ, y tengo ADHD.
Súmatelo, ¿qué más?
Hay mucho, hay mucho.
Llegamos a una docena de características
Así es.
fácilmente.
Pero
Sí,
pero no importa quién, no importa tu pasado, no importa tus, lo que parece que son desventajas, siempre hay otra ve siempre hay una ventaja, pero tienes que ver el otro lado del coin,
ujú,
ajá,
sí,
porque
sí,
aunque con ADHD yo, descubrí mis superpoderes
sí, sí,
y
sí.
los vivo, pero
Sí,
si me
el
hubiera
otro
enfocado.
lado de la moneda, ¿no?
Exactamente,
Sí, sí,
exactamente. Y así como mujer, como latina, es todo sobre a cómo te presentas en la vida, en el momento en que despiertas, en el valor que te das, en cómo te, demuestras, cómo te how do you show yourself to the world.
sí, sí,
Porque esa energía es, emotion, right? Energy in motion. Es muy, muy potente, muy poderosa. En mi libro hablo mucho de eso, y es como la vida, es una manera de que no solamente tú creas la vida, pero la vida también atrae a
sí,
través de
sí,
ti.
sí, es
Ajá,
un ida y vuelta, ¿no?
así es, sí.
Buenísimo. Gracias por bancarme un corte momento en español,
De
porque,
nada.
bueno, tenemos muchos videntes y muchos suscriptores que son latinos y pertenecen a nuestro tribu, ¿no? So we'll come back to English. You know, I could talk to you forever off camera. We realize that we have a lot of connection in the basketball world. Talk to us a little bit about your connection between athletics, sports, the lessons learned there, and how you've been able to apply it in the world of possibility, in the
Mhm.
world of business, in your
Yes.
philanthropy, etc.
When I was in junior high, high school, it was junior high, one of the things that I asked myself was, "What can I do?" My entrepreneur mind was already thinking, "What can I do that I could be so good at that can give me a ticket out of this place, out of the orphanage?" I looked at all the sports and soccer was not a thing that was not gonna be the thing because everybody played soccer in Mexico, but basketball was a new coming thing, and I was like, "What if I learn it so well?" Because not a lot of women know how to play it. It was junior high, and the person that physical education teacher gave us a basketball and kicked it and said, "Play with it." And I remember going by my principal's office, and I saw a black and white TV that was really long, and I saw Michael Jordan play, and I asked him, "Could I come during my breaks and watch his move so I can learn?" He said, "Absolutely." So that's how I learned how to play basketball. And I played with a blindfold in the orphanage. There's a brother, adopted brother that I had that's had spinal bifida. I had to carry him everywhere I went. So he would tell me, "Stop, turn." You know, I would ask him to help me. And I literally I was using my mind to see these multitudes of people come trying to come steal the ball while I was dribbling. And if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have become such I'm only 5'2"
Right.
to be chosen to play for the Mexican national team because of the way of using my mind. And there's a research scientist by the name of Alan Richardson, and you probably know this story, but he took a group of a group of basketball players and divided them into three groups, and he tested their ability to make free throws. So the first group were only allowed to practice 20 minutes per day. The second group were only allowed to practice with their mind, just making free throws with their mind. And the third group were not allowed to practice physically or mentally. And the results of what happened was that the third group did terrible, obviously, right? But the second group that only practiced with their mind, he found that they did as good or better than the people that practiced 20 minutes per day.
Wow.
And what I found is that I was doing these things. I was
Yeah.
visualizing myself doing these moves, making those baskets. And this is how I became so good. I'm not gonna kid you. I went to a park about a month ago, and I have a video of it. And literally, my sister and her son, and they said, "Do you wanna shoot?" And I hadn't shot a basketball in 15 years. And I said, "Let me try something. I'm going to make a free throw with my eyes closed because I was visualizing the hoop." First time, first shot, it went in, and they're like, "Oh my gosh,"
Yeah.
because it's so real.
Right.
So it's not just basketball, but in life, in business, if you're able to see, to futurecast, to see the outcome that you want and practice it in your mind, the subconscious mind doesn't know something that's real or imagined. So
Very powerful.
if you practice with your mind, you'd be very surprised. This is how far I've gotten in life because of
Right.
that.
But that's the key word there, Maggie. It's practice, and it's not
Yes.
one time. It's
Yes.
steady, Eddie, patience, consistent, even when you don't want to, even when the world says no, even when you can't feel the possibility, keep your word. And I think that sometimes gets lost because let's be honest, there is a very Hollywood-esque aspect to your life, all the
Mhm.
adversity and
Mhm.
that's real too. But
Yes.
underneath that were those dark moments where nobody saw you, where you
Yes.
didn't get any acknowledgement.
Mhm.
Hollywood was not there,
Mhm.
metaphorically, right? And
Mhm.
that you were still doing that visual work and that future casting and all that. And that I think is something that can't be, understated really,
Mhm.
you know.
Yes. Absolutely. And the key to everything is to remember, to practice. Because just like you said a minute ago, waking up, what is the first thing that you do when you wake up, right? Every time, every moment, every day that we wake up, it's like a control alt delete.
Yeah.
So you have to remember to, do these things. And
Yeah.
this is how you incrementally get better. And sometimes, like you said, yes, we need baby steps of courage, right?
Well, we're going to remember your story for a long time. We're at the end of the road for now. I know your road has a lot of length ahead of it, and we just appreciate you so much being with us and sharing your story in such a sweet, poetic, interesting, and vulnerable way. And just thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having
me. You got it. And to our subscribers as well, we're very grateful for the time you take to be with us. For the first timers, just thanks for coming in and giving it a try. Share these stories, share these speakers. You're going to be able to see Maggie's profile in the show notes and learn more about her story there. So for everybody, we'll see you next time. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, guys.
Ciao.